All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Copy Corner with your host, Terry Schilling.
And Dan Marzullo.
This is our corner of the internet where we like to talk about copywriting and marketing strategy and tips to help you become a better writer and grow a business that you enjoy and that has some help that helps people along the way as well. And Dan, today's topic is going to be an important one and something that gets brought up a lot in the freelance copywriting marketing world. We're going to talk about, from copywriting standpoint, how much to charge for your copywriting service. We're going to get honest with you, tell you the truth, tell from our experience as well, lessons that we've learned on accurately charging our services. And Dan, today's topic really got sparked because in my Facebook group, we talked about, or I posted a job opportunity, and it was a little bit lower rate for some people from what they saw on it. It was a content writing job, and some people are like, was this a typo? Like, I can't imagine writing 1,500 words for less than $100. And I understand that that's low and for some people, but this really just sparked about just what to charge for your services, because for a beginner that may be a good amount of money to get started, or like if you're international and and those rates are appealing to you, I think that could work too. But we want to go through some formulas and, again, some of our stories and experience that we've had, of how to accurately charge your services as you continue to grow, your career as a writer. And Dan, I'll let you kind of go into the topic, and then we'll keep rolling from there.
Yeah. So, I think it's tough, right? Because, when you're just starting out, you probably don't have much of a portfolio. You might have to take some of these jobs at these lower rates to build up that portfolio so that you can show people your work and feel more confident in the rates you charge. So I think, the career and the life of a copywriter is, it starts and you just kind of build as you go, right? You got to start somewhere, whether in your mind those rates are too low or too high or whatever. Start somewhere, and then you can kind of build and adjust as you critique and refine your skills. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's we touched on this a little bit before we got on, but you were talking a lot about like personal preference, just like what type of clients are you looking for? How much money do you want to make? Why don't you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think, there's a couple sides to it, right? It's number one is, well, what type of clients do you want to work with? Because if you're, really passionate about helping solopreneurs or small business owners that are, really small businesses, they're not going to have the same budgets as the giant enterprise company. So there's a lot to be said for that too. It's, realistically, who do you want to work with? Okay, well, that's going to kind of dictate your budgets and how you price your services a bit as well. But on the other side of it, right, I mean, there's tons of formulas and things that we're going to go into, right? But at the end of the day, it comes down to your perspective of, okay, well, how much money do you want to make, right? Do you want to build a freelance career with, 4 really high profile clients that pay you super well to meet your income goals, and then you don't have the stress of tons of clients kind of tugging at you? You can go that route, right? Charge a premium for your services. Or you can go the other route and have a little bit more competitive rates that might be a little bit lower and work with, maybe 10 clients, right? So at the end of the day, there's really no great equalizer for copywriting rates, right? Some people, they charge all over the place. So you really have, based on how good you are, you have the ability to say, hey, here's how much I want to make per client based on whatever the work it is. So you kind of got to figure that out first. Like, well, what do you want to charge to meet the lifestyle goals that you have, and how many clients do you want to work with? So I think that's kind of a good way to get in the right frame of mind when you're figuring out these rates for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back a little bit just on the experience side of things, because like when you're a beginner, whether you're looking to write articles or if you're looking to write conversion copy for emails, web copy, just depend on for example, if you're coming from an agency as a copywriter and you're like, I'm starting a side hustle and now I'm be able to charge more because you have this portfolio, you have this background that other people can see. That's going to be easier to charge like a higher rate to get closer to that, maybe like $80, $120 per hour range, off the bat potentially. But if you're a beginner, you may be looking at like 25, 35 bucks an hour, as you get your first projects. I think that's like a really good starting rate. I know for me, it was 20 bucks an hour when I started on the Elance before it was Upwork. And then it went to 35, then it went to 60 and 75. So it really just depends on the experience that you have, and just understanding that you may take like a $75, for an article, for a 1,200, 1,500 word article, just so you can show that as a portfolio and understand like how to work a client relationship. Like, how does it work getting paid in the invoices and, doing all the research and being mindful of calculating that time that goes into the research, the communication, the emails, the actual writing of it, right? I think that's so important to understand. That way, when you say, I don't need to make $7,000 a month right now for my bills, and to make some money for savings and what have you, right? Then you can start charging packages for like $2,000 web copy packages, and you can get, 4 clients a month where you can, exceed that 7,000, potentially. And then you can understand like, what all does that include in my services? What is this value-based pricing? It includes editing, it includes communication, it includes like research to 3 competitors, keyword research. That gets more, into detail and more of that value that clients can see. So I think that's just important to know that, like, understand, like, take those jobs. When you see a posting, reach out to them, understand the rate, be professional. Don't just say, hey, I can help. Be prepared to show your portfolio, understand that they're hiring a good person for this project. And then I think you continue to grow. And then I think you'll be, able to charge more. Something we discuss a lot, Dan, is just like, you're never going to get like 100% accurate with charging your rates. It's like impossible, right? It's just like every time that I send a proposal, whether it's just a little bit more than typical, if I raise my rates a little bit, I always wonder if they're going to say yes to this. There's always that sticker shock that I feel like they could see, right? And if they say no, then it's like, oh, shoot, should I go back a little bit? So it's tough. Like, I think, but what you can do is get close to being 100% confident in your rates. So it's like confidence over accuracy. Because if you're confident that you can charge $3,000 for a specific copywriting project, and, get paid 50% up front, and that's huge. That's where we go. I mean, I've seen copywriters who are like, I only charge, $20,000 for done for you copywriting services. Otherwise, look at my copy coaching consulting that we can do. Right? Like, what has been your experience from a content writing standpoint of, what, some of your writers charge, what you charge, to being more confident, to being like, these are our rates.
Yeah, I think, it comes down to kind of pushing the envelope with each new client, right? Get confident in yourself and be comfortable in taking that risk. If, okay, I typically charge this, well, we have this new client coming in, let's try to bump that rate up. If it's some package price, let's maybe add $500 or whatever that is, right? Keep bumping that until eventually you'll hit a point of resistance, right? Depending on what clients you're working with. If you start hearing, no's way more often than yeses like you used to, maybe you realize, all right, I've kind of hit a ceiling with the types of clients that I'm working with and where their budgets lie, right? So you just kind of have to keep pushing that envelope each time. And as you have, a full client workload, you're not whereas in the beginning, you might be a little bit more determined that, you need clients under your belt. Whereas now, if you're already full, and, that extra one, if they say no to that rate, you're going to be it's not going to be as big of a deal, right? You're going to be more confident because you have all this work lined up already. So you kind of put yourself in a better position to push that envelope the further you get down that road in your career, and you've already got clientele that you're working with on a regular basis. So I think that's just kind of the progression that you have to follow.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those listening who need some help of like, okay, well, I understand that, but like, how is there a formula, or how can I know more of an idea of what to charge, per project and what you're looking at? So I'm going to put up, if you're watching live here, I have a formula up here, but we'll describe this for the, for the audio listeners here. So one formula that I use is cost plus profit equals rate. So the cost is like the time that goes into like my time that goes into the work, and the profit is how much money do I want to make? Right? Because you're a business, you should have some type of profit margins. Like, don't neglect that. And so for an example, if I'm working on a project and I think, honestly, it's going to take me 20 hours with all the work, with all the multiple pages that I need to write for a website, the editing back and forth, 20 hours at $100 an hour. And then if I add 30% of that for profit, then I'm charging $2,600 for a website copy project, which is actually a pretty, like, it's not in a crazy amount for some clients. $2,600 is a pretty, reasonable rate to write like 5 to 6 pages of web copy, considering everything that they're going into. Right. And so that's really how I still calculate it today. I look at, how much time is this going to take me? All right, my hourly rate is the XYZ. Now, if I add 30%, I say minimally add 20%, then that's my price. And then go back at them and like, this is what I charge for this. And then when you're sending the proposal, make sure that you include all the value that you're giving them. And, I feel like the majority of the times they're going to say yes to that. I really do. Like if you calculate that, and then you're going to get more, confident with charging more and increasing that hourly rate.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah. I mean, can't forget about those costs, right? And taxes, right? Taxes are going to come out of that.
Taxes, exactly. That's like, you put away at least 20% of that from a project. So like if you increase that, that just helps too. Don't neglect like how much to include for taxes as well. Another thing that I like to think about is the value that, you're offering the client. So, I use an example of if a client is selling a course for $400, you have that information ahead of time and they want to at least get 25 people to sign up. That's a profit of that for your client of $7,500. So if you charge 20% of that, if they reach that goal, that's $1,500 for like writing a sales page, if that's what they were offering you for, which is again, pretty reasonable for someone to hire to write a, sales page when, they know that the value that they could get if they reach 25 or more people at $400 a person. So that's something to consider as well. But the cost plus profit equals your rate, I think is really helpful for people to understand. We got a few comments here. Got somebody asking if this will be on YouTube. Yes, it will, Cole. Thank you for checking in. Who's watching on YouTube or on LinkedIn? Sorry. Question: if you had to start from zero, how would you speed run your first 10 projects? Well, it's a good question. Dan, you want to tackle this one first?
What does she mean about speed run? As in like,
I think just like start your first 10 projects. Like how would you go like about charging for those as your very first 10 projects? Yeah.
Yeah. I think, when you have nothing to lose there and it's all right, you're just trying to build a portfolio, start low, right? If you don't have any experience yet. So like we were talking about earlier, figure out first, I would look at the client. Okay. What industry are they in? Are they an enterprise client? If so, we know they have a marketing department and a marketing budget. So I'd be more confident charging a higher rate. If these first few leads that you're pitching are maybe on the smaller business side, something more affordable for them, just for you to get those projects is better. So start low, unless it's an enterprise client, okay, they've got a good budget and they're trusting me here, then I'm going to start a little bit higher right off the bat. So I think that's the first step, is looking at, okay, well, what types of clients are those first 10 projects going to come from? And then from there, figuring out where you need to start.
Yeah, I think too is just like focusing on from a copywriting standpoint of what type of projects that you want to work for. Like, are you going to be looking for mostly like website copy? Are you going to be looking to write articles, or are you looking to like help them write like welcome sequences for emails? And then just go about that and, come up with like a value rate of what you can offer for that. Instead of like charging per hour, think of just like a pricing standpoint of like using that formula. Like if I charge $30 an hour, and, if it's like costing me, going to take me 5 hours to write, maybe I'll charge $250 to write someone's, website. If it's just really looking for 3 pages. And I would just look at that, of how I would start writing it. And, I would go on sites like Fiverr and Upwork, to be honest, if I'm a beginner, and look for some of those rates. Cause there's a lot of people who, need copywriting help, and they're looking really for that done for you, where they just want somebody who has some experience to write them to get it off their plate. And those clients are okay, because that helps you build experience at the end of the day. And then again, that confidence builds up. You're able to take on bigger clients down the road.
And you can be in these beginning stages too, if that doesn't line up with their budget and you want to negotiate a little bit because you really want those projects for your portfolio. You can do that, right? Be flexible, work with them so that you get something out of it too, as well as them. So if that's what you have to do to get that portfolio, do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like people like, what do I do when I don't have a portfolio? It's like, well, one, you can like create some mock-ups or just start a blog, and get some experience that way. But honestly, look at guest posting for free and take some of these like more inexpensive projects just to get it under your belt.
Yeah, that's huge. I think people overlook just writing and maintaining their own blog. I mean, you can easily send prospective clients a link and say, hey, here's the last, 5 articles I've written, check them out. And if it resonates, we can do that for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Cole, thank you so much for tuning in and watching on LinkedIn and for your question. I'll give my last comment here, Dan, and then we can wrap it up. We'll have you, give your final comments too. It's just like, my big thing is just like the experience factor of it as well. And it's just like knowing that like your time is super valuable, right? It's just like understanding like people are paying, for you, just understand that. Cause I think when you get out of this mentality of done for you services and then you move to done from you, you have that confidence to, accurately charge, and knowing it's like, hey, look, this is going to take me so much time. This is the value that I bring. This is what I charge. And that's why people talk about niching down, where you can focus on a certain niche where you kind of own that a little bit more, so then you're the kind of the go-to person in that area. So that's just easier, but, don't undervalue your time. And if somebody wants to change the scope, then, or change the budget, then you just change the scope of work. If they want, if they will only have a budget of $1,000 for a 5-page website, but you typically charge 2,000, then I would lower that scope and be like, well, I can help you write, these 2 pages for $1,000 if you want to start there. Like, that's just, it's kind of is what it is. Like, don't value your time. If you want to take that project for $1,000, that's on you. But it could just be more of a headache in the long run.
Right. No, that's a good, I love that one, just the scope, not the budget. That's genius,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Dan, anything else on what these people absolutely need to know about charging for copywriting services?
I think we covered it, but yeah, just to kind of wrap it up, at the end of the day, I mean, you're running a business, right? You're not running a charity here. So you need to make money and pay your bills. So do what you got to do, be confident in whatever it is you do decide to charge, be 100% confident in it and go after it and, run your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And thank you everyone who's tuning in. Again, we go live here on Mondays for the Copy Corner, but anybody who's listening to the podcast, we appreciate it. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, and everywhere we're there. Make sure that you guys leave us reviews, subscribe, rate us. We really appreciate that. And yeah, guys, love what you do. Proceed with passion. And we will see you on the next Copy Corner. Thanks.